Good evening, Doc here for the ReadySetCrypto OMNIA trade of the day for Monday, the 14th of December. Okay, not much has changed since yesterday when we talked about Bitcoin being in this ascending triangle pattern, or at the very least, a symmetrical triangle pattern. So what that means is that probably going to be in this for a couple of weeks at the very least. Could be wrong. Again, price can break out tomorrow and no rhyme or reason to it. But my sense is that if we do get a breakout, it may end up being a throwover. So in other words, if you try to break out, it's almost like a rocket trying to blast off with, maybe a quarter tank or something like that. And it may not even hit critical altitude and just fall back in, right? So we don't want that. We don't want a throwover. We want this thing to blast off and just keep on moving. Well, if we want that, then we need to consolidate a little bit more energy in this thing. Daily chart is looking really good, but the weekly chart is not so good, right? There is a cost to be paid for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, basically 9 weeks in a row to the upside. We've been in week 2. This is week 2 of consolidation so far. We've got a ways to go. And actually, this is what you want. You do want the price to kind of frustrate everybody in the near term. And it's kind of fun when you understand this, because you're going to read everything around you and everybody just, going nuts, tearing their hair out because the price won't break out, keeps dipping back down and frustrating everybody. And you know better because you realize that this is just a bigger consolidation pattern. And when it's ready, when everybody is sick and tired of being stopped out on these little swings up and down, then the price will just lift off with nobody on board. I've seen it happen so many times where the price just consolidates in an area and people just get sick of it and they walk away from it. And then it breaks out on them. Same thing happens again and again. So when people get sick of this and when people start to say, well, this is never going to break out, that's about when it will break out. So it's going to be tough trading for a lot of these coins that are in the top 10 and they're sitting at weekly exhaustion. We have the same thing going on with Ethereum, unlikely to break out. We have the same thing going on with Ripple and Bitcoin Cash, not quite. Bitcoin Cash, I don't like this pattern at all. Litecoin did get close to exhaustion, but really it's going to follow the leader in terms of BTC. So it follows BTC very closely. Chainlink is ready to go, but it's just unable to break out at this point. So if we look at the daily chart, we're seeing that it's got energy. Now, if it breaks above about 13.3, then that's valid. So what we can do is we can find coins that are on this chart. If you want to look for, or coins that are on this watch list, if you want to look for breakouts and just play trades in the meantime. So if you're getting bored waiting for BTC, just buying dips and things like that, then you're probably doing right if you're getting bored by this, because just activity or just trading just to trade is usually a poor substitute. But if you want to take an actual breakout above about 13.4 on Chainlink versus the US dollar, that would be valid. We're almost seeing a hook to the upside here on the RSI Laguerre. Cardano is doing the same thing. We've got the hook. We've got energy on the daily chart, and on the weekly chart, we are not in exhaustion. So a long on Cardano would be a valid trade. Just going to look at a couple more here. Most of the time, it's the top 10 that really counts. Binance Coin is actually breaking out from the descending pattern. So this is good. I would wait until it breaks above 30 myself. That's the last pivot. But this one also is looking just fine as far as energy. Binance Coin tends to be the coin that breaks out when everything else is just going nowhere. So this and other utility coins are good for that. Here's Stellar, and Stellar is kind of doing the same thing as everything else. I would wait until we break 18 cents on this one. We are getting the positive hook here on the RSI Laguerre. We have energy on the daily chart, and we have exhaustion on the weekly chart. So this one is probably a poor breakout candidate right now and needs to consolidate for quite some time yet. Just a couple more like Monero. Monero is looking really good. It's actually fairly strong, but we have exhaustion, daily chart, weekly charts getting close. So this is not a high probability one that I would chase at this time. Looking at some of the other altcoins that are out there that we sort of monitor, some are sort of moving today, but a typical example for this one is, yeah, it's coming up off the bottom, but that's not a coin that you would want to be chasing at this point. You know, even things like Icon is still needs to mature, right? We still need to transition this into a weekly uptrend. One of the ones that we've been watching, which has done really well lately, Waves versus BTC, is consolidating on the daily chart. This actually looks pretty good. And on the weekly chart, this is not too bad. So a breakout above, I'd say 46.72 or so. That would be a valid breakout on this one. Nice little consolidation pattern here. So while Bitcoin is going nowhere, you're going to find occasional alts, but this is not alt season yet. I've not seen a wide scale, just everybody all in on alts like we did 3 years ago. All right, folks, that is it for today's report. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.